What is that world record?
What's the Deal Fuzeel is tied with 0 for the least number of podcasts in internet history. We're about to lose that distinction right now.
I think that's a good way to start our first episode.
I think so.
By telling a joke that I can't even really grasp.
Understood.
Like, no, that at all.
Like most of my jokes.
Because they're deep. Welcome to What's the Deal Fuzeel. That's Mikey Unger Leiter, right?
That's Mikey Unger Leiter.
Unger Leiter. I call him Ungie. And I'm Craig Pasta. Jardula, he calls me Pasta and stuff.
Among many other things.
Yes. We actually met at a Tulsi Gabbard rally.
We did.
Yes.
We did. I was the creepy old guy playing the ukulele in the row behind you. And
I said, who is this schmuck gonna play the friggin' ukulele? But when he started playing,
it was Tulsi time.
it was right.
It was Tulsi time. A catchy tune.
We became friends.
We did.
Ever since.
We did.
I mean, we had a common interest in Tulsi, but I think when I introduced myself, I said, hey, my name is Pasta, and I make some good pasta. And you were like...
Right.
You gave me some, New York gesture, and I knew I was with my own peeps, and I got a chance to make you some bolognese.
I grew up across the hall from Katie Catronio.
Oh.
And she'd have these major family dinners on Sunday.
There you go.
And I was the cute little kid across the hall who got the leftovers on Monday.
See?
So I grew up on the real deal.
Ah.
Mwah, kind of a
Give the rest of the pasta to the nicer Jewish boy down the hall over there, huh?
Yeah. I came back from that Tulsi rally and you took the selfie of me.
Yes.
Of me and Tulsi at that rally. I got home, of course I checked out the Combo Couch. I had my few podcasts I watched here and there, some of which I don't watch anymore, actually.
No, I know.
There's a couple that are sadly canceled, but there's some that are better than ever, including yours. So I go home and I watch the Combo Couch. It was the night of you had the guy who was from Code Pink, who rescued the embassy.
Ah, Kevin Zeese.
Yeah. And he hadn't eaten a good meal in a month or something.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, come out to California. I'll make you a nice bolognese. I'm like, okay.
Ah.
This guy got it. Let me see if this guy can back it up. You had me over to dinner not much longer after that.
Yeah, I got lucky because I got some fresh bison and I made a bolognese, which was my wheelhouse, and it was like silky. It melted like butter. And that's kind of a good story. Kevin Zeese, and I told him I'd give him lasagna because he was in the embassy and they were not letting him get food up there. This is the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. So he actually, food and politics is kind of like what we're going for. What's the deal, Fuzeel?
What's the deal, Fuzeel?
I'm wearing my Tim Canova shirt from my first episode, and
I'm wearing a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame shirt.
Okay, this guy's a rock guy. He loves the jam. So listen, two topics today. We'll cut them up, right?
Let's go.
All right, so the first one, we're going to kind of get into politics a lot right off the bat. Today, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders shared a podcast. So I'm going to get your reactions to watching a minute of the highlights, and then we'll talk about it after.
Welcome to this conversational leader who shares those values and has been an outspoken advocate for that vision for a long time. My friend, Senator Bernie Sanders. Bernie, welcome.
Joe, thank you very much for your remarks, and thank you for welcoming me to your live stream here. So we are in a terrible moment, an unprecedented moment, and I know we share the understanding that we've got to go forward right now and out of this in an unprecedented way to address the terrible pain that so many of our fellow Americans are feeling. So today I am asking all Americans, I'm asking every Democrat, I'm asking every independent, I'm asking a lot of Republicans to come together in this campaign to support your candidacy, which I endorse, to make certain that we defeat somebody who I believe, and I'm speaking just for myself now, is the most dangerous president in the modern history of this country.
Okay. So my question to you is, Ungie,
ask me.
What's the deal, Fuzeel?
Oh, the deal, Fuzeel, is unbelievable. On Twitter today, they have a new word, by the way.
What's that?
Privileged.
Yes,
privileged. It's
they
all
brought back an oldie.
Must be nice to be so privileged. It's right there in front of me. I was called I made a positive comment about something Jill Stein posted.
Yeah.
And I got a one-word response, idiot. And then I said, oh, thank you for your articulate evaluation of my intelligence level. Please feel free to share more of your. So of course I got another insult after that.
You got blasted on Twitter.
And then the next insult was he said I am a privileged Trump not supporter, Trump enabler.
Lackey or enabler.
Enabler or something like that. I'm like, wow, privilege. And I see privilege coming up all over this place. This person here, Amy DeMalo, is writing it in big and small letters.
DeMaio.
Yeah, whoever that is.
Well, let me just tell you this much. They're starting to do the same thing they did back in 2016. They're starting to weaponize race and class, whatever, and try to fear, like, goat you into voting for who they want. Try to punk you or bully you in to voting by who they want, their establishment lackey, by weaponizing identity politics.
It was torture in 2016.
Yes.
It was torture. You ever see the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
I have.
Yeah, that's what it was like. One by one, and friend by friend. I couldn't talk to people anymore because I wouldn't get in line behind Hillary. Because you got to get in line behind Hillary because the fire and brimstone if Trump is elected.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world as we know it. And they used that fear-mongering, that propaganda, and they were all using the same words, so they were all watching Rachel Maddow. Forget about it.
Yeah.
And it was awful. But one by one, the number of people I could actually talk politics with in 2016 was less and less, which actually segues me into how I found out about how Tulsi endorsed Biden.
Yes. You want to tell that story real quick or no?
I could.
Or do you want to stick on the privilege thing, kind
Let's
of?
stick on the privilege because that's
it's the topic of the day, right?
They're loading up. They're arming themselves. The Any Blue Will Do crowd.
Yes.
Has begun advancing on the citizenry.
Are you surprised though by the tactics they use?
No, I'm not.
It's like the same thing as 2016, over and over again.
It surprises me that they haven't learned anything.
No. You think it's going to be as bad this time, or not as bad, or?
I think it's already as bad.
You really do?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to be less. I think there's more of a chance of people splitting off and saying, "Hey, Bernie failed a second time. He's let me down. Let's start a third party."
Right.
Like, I think there'd be more optimism to go for a third party.
Right, which brings us to what we were talking about these last couple of days of how, so I think there's a lot of agreement we need a third party.
Yes.
Or viable alternative to the Republicrats and the Democrats.
Yes.
In whatever form that takes.
Yes.
So the question, the big question there is, how do you go about that? Now, what 2020 has over 2016?
What's that?
It's only April now. We didn't know just how bad things were in 2016 till July.
Yeah.
So there was no time to mobilize, no time for nothing. But now there could be a serious conversation because I can't believe, election integrity is a whole and proper vote count's a whole separate conversation. Yes. But I still have a hard time believing that the combination of Gary Johnson and Jill Stein got such an insignificant percentage of the votes when we had the two worst candidates in the world in the history of this country running against each other. When in prior elections, when less awful candidates were running, third parties would get 15-20% of the votes.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the fear mongering from each side. Each one of those sides put the fear of God in each opposition to say, hey man, if you don't vote for Donald Trump, these libertards are going to take over, and they're just they want to have open borders and give all your money to illegal immigrants and
right.
strip away and tax the hell out of you and whatnot. And if you don't do that, they're moving socialist. And then the other side, it was like, oh, orange man bad. Yeah. You got to vote for him. And you want to put the pussy grabber in office, which worked on me. I mean, I voted for Hillary Clinton in Florida, and I will never vote for Joe Biden. But
no,
yeah.
I voted for Jill Stein.
All right, so we need a third party, right? It's plain and simple today. Now, after today, a lot of burners who saw them say, Joe is my friend again, and we want to support your campaign. And he has pretty much enthusiasm about it. It's like we talked about, when Tulsi dropped out and endorsed Biden, we knew she would do that, but that's the last thing she said about it.
Right.
She's moved on. Bernie's ready to jump shotgun with Joe Biden, go on tour, knock on doors. Well, you can't do it now, but he's ready to do whatever's necessary to get Biden. That's not the last time we've seen them on the screen together. In fact, it's probably the first time of many, right?
Well, that's the next level. It's one thing. I don't think you'll ever see Tulsi on the campaign trail with Biden.
No.
If that happens, we have to have a very separate conversation.
Yeah.
But I do believe you'll see Bernie on the campaign trail.
Oh, of course. Biden. Whatever you call the campaign trail now. So now that we see this, burners see this, maybe it's time for a third party. But I said this before. What is a third party going to look like? Now, you say the most important thing.
Viability.
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 I hate that, Fuzeel.
I know you do.
That's
I
not a good deal.
Right.
Because that's what they said about all the establishment people, why you got to vote for them over the Progressive Party or the progressives. Hey, man, Bernie Sanders just is not viable. Tulsi Gabbard's not viable.
I know. I'm highly aware of that.
Well, then give me your spiel, Fuzeel.
The two-party system has failed us.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, assuming we agree that there's a third party, because the conversation of whether there should be a third party or not is
A viable third party.
A viable third party.
Because we do have the Greens and the Libertarians, right?
Right. The question is, I think there's three possibilities. Build around the Libertarians, build around the Greens, build something brand new. Build something brand new. I'm 66 years old. I hope I see something in my lifetime. Building around one of the two existing parties is going to be more expedient by probably a decade, I would think.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, and this is where you and I differ, I would say, I say that policy and platform, while important, is not as important as viability, because if you don't have viability, it doesn't matter what your platform is. And this is a chicken and the egg conversation
It
that we had
is.
yesterday, because I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
Well, the viability, is all fine and dandy, and don't get me wrong, but you'll have viability if you have a big enough tent that you get enough people in it where you stand behind core issues. It's really, the whole problem is that, I said this before, I like the Libertarians, I like the Green Party. I'd like to be a combination of both. So what if you start a party that is somewhat indicative of both? Because the whole thing about it is progressives don't like the Libertarian Party because they don't believe in Medicare for all, they don't believe in a Green New Deal, they believe the market should work out itself. However, there's a group of us progressives, and the reason why we are Tulsi Gabbard progressives is because we believe in the core values that the Libertarians believe in. And I think a lot of America's uneducated about those particular core values, because those core values, unfortunately, do trump what the Green Party's core values are too, like Medicare for all, Green New Deal. If we don't have our civil liberties protected, if we don't have election integrity, if we don't end these interventionist policies and stop bombing people and killing people, you know what I'm saying? Then, we don't have the platform for a democracy. Right. And if we want to start a party or not, whether we want to make it viability or not, it doesn't make a difference. It's never going to be viable unless it has a set of core issues that where people got in the room and they talked things out to say, this is the biggest coalition we can form built upon ideologies. We just have to be understanding that we're not going to agree on everything. And I think that's more important than rushing and just starting a party and saying, hey, I'm not those guys.
True that. Where do we come from, though? I'd say the majority, maybe certainly more than half of the Tulsi supporters,
yes,
were Bernie supporters in 2016.
I'd say a third. You could say let's say half.
It was a progression.
It was It was a more nuanced group of people.
And that group of people, and by the way, I hope that Tulsi people, let's not rub it into the Bernie people.
Oh,
we know what we went through on March 19th.
Oh, you want to give some people some fucking calls today.
Kill some
so did I, but I didn't.
And now they're going through it too. Let's not say I told you so. Maybe just a little bit, just a little, but not too much. Just a little to get the point across, but not so much. But we have to work with these people. We have to work together with. We were together with them once upon a time. We need to be together with them again. Maybe
I don't know. So half of them I don't know, because I made that video today, the social justice warriors. We talked about it, that kind of woke part of the Progressive Party that didn't want to have anything to do with us Tulsi people. They didn't like us at all. They didn't want to let us in there just because we were different than their ideology. And we were so close to them. We were a lot closer to them than their actual guy they were following is to them. You know what I'm saying?
Then the them,
yeah,
and perhaps even the us, need to focus on who's the real enemy here. And the real enemy here is any blue will do. If we can unite behind any blue will do, go away, stay away from me, no, any blue will not do. Because that's the thing. We've been working with as Bernie-crats and as Tulsi-crats, we were dealing with the horror that is the Democratic Party.
Yes.
Now, we're talking about dealing with the Libertarians and the Greens. Are they going to be any better? Are they going to have stubbornness in their own way?
Well, no. Here's my plan: is to get everybody in a room and start talking.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. It's like, hey, man, like this is a libertarian. I'm a progressive. You're an ex-Bernie supporter. They don't believe in Medicare for all and a Green New Deal, but they believe in these other things that we need. They believe in a fair shot and fair elections.
Right.
They believe in protecting our privacy and not letting one of the biggest problems, the civil liberties, that's the mainstream media controlling the narrative and blocking out and suppressing other voices that are going to talk against them. That's something big that we need for you to win. That's something that the Bernie Sanders people never realized, that if they have their civil liberties suppressed and the media's control, that really hurts their chances. And that's something that they need to come to light on. And it doesn't make a difference that it happens first, because if you do those two things first, civil liberties and fair elections, you provide avenues to get those things like you want, like a Green New Deal and Medicare for all.
Not just avenues, necessary avenues.
Yes.
So you take your Bernie-crats, you take your Tulsi-crats, your libertarians, your Greens, your independents.
Put them in one fucking room.
Think of the issue that might be the most divisive among them. Let's just say Medicare for all versus no Medicare for all.
Yes.
I dare say the difference between Medicare for all and no Medicare for all, while significant, pales in comparison to the difference between election integrity and no election integrity.
Yes.
And that's why we have to get money out of politics. The priorities have to be that we have to have a government, not to overquote this, of by and for the people. We don't have that now.
Yes.
We would have that with a coalition of Greens, Libertarians, Bernie-crats, Tulsi-crats. Yang, I like those Yang guys.
There are some Yang people.
Yeah.
Listen, that's the whole thing, is that a lot of establishment people always echo to a lot of progressives that libertarians suck. Because, and they would always say, oh, they want a Green New Deal, they believe in capitalism, they did that shit, and that was a weapon. They weaponized, and so therefore you would never build that bridge, and you would always just cast them out. Same thing with the Greens, telling how dysfunctional they were all the time.
Right.
Let me tell you something. The Green Party is a dysfunctional party as a party. I'm not saying that ideology-wise they're not okay. They have some really good things about them. Actually, Greens are what good Democrats would be. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing, though, Ungi, and I just got to say this, is that, I understand that we could build those bridges by saying, hey, we got to be anti-establishment. We got to get rid of all the lobbyists. We can't be part of the corporations. We can't deal with the elites. We have to unite on that. But if we go forth without talking about our differences and knowing that we have our differences, the progressives got to be able to say to a libertarian, say, okay, I don't like what you stand for, but in this fight, we're going to walk together. And if you don't have that conversation and they don't understand that, that's the problem. It's not that it's disagreement. It's cancel culture. Like, fuck you, I don't even want to talk to you.
No, it's exactly what I'm saying. There has to be, the difference needs to be noted, recognized, acknowledged, and moved on from temporarily.
Yes.
And, God, I hate to use this word, because it was weaponized by the freaking Bernie people this year, but unity.
Yeah.
I don't
real
like
unity,
though. A true coalition of people with perhaps diverse views of various issues.
Yeah.
Could be a very powerful thing, and our common goal is to get viable enough to be in the debate.
Yeah.
Imagine a Jesse Ventura, a Glenn Greenwald. Name your
Dennis Kucinich.
Did I say Tim Canova?
No, Tim Canova. Right here.
Or a Tulsi Gabbard, even, but not this year, because she promised she wouldn't do this.
Yes.
On stage with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, somebody who actually, forget the adult in the room, the brain cell in the room. It would be an amazing thing to see, even if the person didn't get elected. Just having that debate. That's the thing. It's only April now. There is time to build this coalition. Yeah. I say, let's put our policy differences aside, because the bigger policy differences are election integrity, money out of politics.
But those are policy issues. You don't put you can't say pull our policy issues aside. You have to put your policy issues on the table and say, these are the ones we agree with. The other ones, if it's not known going into this, if we're blind and say, okay, we're just going to coalesce around this thing, but we're not going to understand the differences, it will fail.
No, not blind. Understanding the differences.
Yes.
Understanding, acknowledging
the differences. So go into it uniting on the policies we agree on.
You and I don't agree on Medicare for all. Let's say I'm against Medicare for all, you're for it. But we both agree that It's the Romans. It's not the People's Front of Judea versus the Judean People's Front.
It's the Romans.
It's the Romans that we want to get rid of. So we're going to table the discussion on Medicare for all, just like we don't talk about clams and seafood and pesto. And
next topic.
We'll get to that, but we can. I feel that if somebody was opposite me on Medicare for all, I could set that difference aside.
Yes.
To work with that person to do what we could to damage the two-party system.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that election integrity is a policy issue. But if that issue doesn't money out of politics, yeah, that's a policy issue. But if we don't have money out of politics and election integrity, we're never going to get those other things, no matter what happens. So getting rid of the cancer, we have to get rid of the cancer before we decide what color patch we're going to put on our arm after the surgery.
You know what? I think that's a great way to end our first segment, because bottom line is that when it comes to election integrity, it's the First Amendment. It's our freedom of speech. It's the people's voice. So if we don't have that, like you said, you don't have anything. So, that's why the founding fathers made it number one, the most important one.
Right.
Election integrity. I think we can all agree. And I think that's really important right now. And the burners, they're sitting there seeing it, and they're being told that Joe Biden beat them in election. They got to be saying, what the F? Because trust me, we know about elections. They screw with it, And Bernie made his mistakes. We know what they are. We bitched and complained about them, but trust me, despite his mistakes, if there were fair elections, he'd be the nomination right now.
Combo Couch has done a couple of good segments on election integrity. I'm not sure if you have any that you want to mention.
Go check out the combo. This is What's the Deal, Fuzeel. I'm Pasta Jardula.
I'm Michael Ungerleider.
All right, we'll see you for next topic.